The Democrats are in complete denial about why Joe Biden is incredibly unpopular, why his approval ratings have been plummeting, and why they're likely to have their asses handed to them in the midterms. Now, I don't say this to celebrate because I certainly don't want Republicans in charge, but Democrats need to take ownership of their failures, and it seems like they're unwilling to do that. Now, according to an article that was published in The Hill, Democratic proponents argue that, look, actually, our parties, we've been doing a great job. The problem is we haven't been communicating that we've been doing a great job. Okay, now before I get to their excuses, let me give you the latest poll numbers, approval ratings for the Democrats and for Biden. CNN's poll of polls, an average of the last 4 national polls of Americans, pegs Biden's approval rating at just 39%, with 55% disapproving. As of 2018, the average seat loss for the president's party in a midterm election when the president's approval rating was under 50%, oh my God, was 37 House seats, and Republicans now need only a net gain of 5 seats to win back the House majority. That is not good. And so if you're a Democratic strategist who doesn't want to come across as an idiot, you'd want to really investigate why this is the case. And a good way to do that is to maybe touch base with the voters, see where the voters are at. Like, what are their concerns? Why are they unhappy with Biden? They just chalk it up to homeboy is just not good at messaging. Not buying it. Earlier this year, approval for President Joe Biden among people aged 18 to 30 hit depths no Democratic president had plumbed in decades. So the mid to low 30s in Gallup and other polls, an alienated youth vote is an existential threat for Democrats in 2022. They backed Biden by a 25-point margin in 2020, voting at all-time highs. So let's just address that real quick, okay? So young people overwhelmingly supported Biden over Trump. That's understandable. Now, I don't think young people were excited about Biden. I think young people were excited about the idea of getting Trump out of the White House. But we do remember that Biden had some promises. He didn't promise to fully cancel student loan debt, but he promised to at least cancel 10,000. Did he? Did he do it? No, he didn't do it. He had an ambitious social spending plan that wouldn't just benefit young people, it would benefit everyone in the country other than extremely wealthy individuals who have not been paying their fair share. Did he fight for that legislation, or did he use Manchin and Sinema as an excuse? Or did he use the Senate parliamentarian as an excuse? Certainly when it came to increasing the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. Like, Democrats think we're stupid and we're not paying attention. But believe it or not, voters do pay attention, and young people are definitely informed because young people are bearing the brunt of this economic system. And to see a Democrat claim that he is all for workers' rights, he really wants to change things, he wants things to be great. I mean, he'll tell us that he wants to change things. He'll tell his donors that nothing will fundamentally change. But these policy failures add up. They add up. So on NBC's Meet the Press, Hillary Clinton said that the party has a good case to make if we get our focus in the right place to do it, arguing Democrats have a lot of good accomplishments to be putting up on the board. And the Democrats in office and out need to be doing a better job of making the case. You should do a better job in making the case. What are you referring to? Let's get a little bit of specificity here, Hillary. They're doing a great job. They just need to put it on the board, you know? At a White House event last week, former President Obama offered similar advice when asked by a reporter for his message to Democrats worried about the midterms. He said this, "We got a story to tell, just gotta tell it," Obama said as he left the East Room. We've heard the stories. All the stories have been about, what can we do? Sinema's really smart, but she's not playing ball. And Manchin, he's a great guy. Those are the stories we've heard. The stories we heard before the election were the necessity of electing Democrats to meet Americans where they are and help them out as they're struggling. The stories that we heard after Biden got elected was that, what could he do? He tried, but what could he do? Those are the stories we heard. There are some elected Democrats who believe this nonsense line as well. Some Democrats are baffled at Biden's low numbers, given what they think is a list of robust accomplishments. They list the coronavirus relief bill in March, a bipartisan infrastructure bill, and the recent confirmation of Ketanji Brown Jackson, who will be the first Black woman to serve on the Supreme Court. Okay, so the coronavirus bill passed in the beginning of Biden's term. And I think people are gonna remember other elements of that whole debate that don't look good for Biden. Like how he said he was gonna provide $2,000 checks and then he didn't in the coronavirus relief bill. Like the fact that he said that he was gonna make the child tax credit permanent, but then didn't fight for that. And so when the child tax credit expired, children were forced back into poverty and their parents ain't so happy about that. So coronavirus relief bill, it's a little shaky. Then you're gonna mention the bipartisan infrastructure bill. Listen, there might be some good provisions in that bill. We all know that it's a bipartisan bill because it includes all sorts of corporate handouts. But let's just take what they're saying at face value. Oh, it's a great bill. All these infrastructure projects are great. These infrastructure projects have not begun. So how is the infrastructure bill gonna help you out with the midterms when there's nothing physical, tangible to point to? When people haven't experienced any of the alleged benefits of that plan, of that bill. And then Ketanji Brown Jackson, listen, she's great. I'm glad that she got confirmed. But even though you want to celebrate it, even though you want to celebrate that historic moment, you also know that it doesn't change the ideological makeup of the court, which is why people are preparing for when the Supreme Court very likely reverses Roe v. Wade very soon. Because it's dominated by conservative justices, including 3 of these justices who were successfully confirmed during the Trump administration. It's just really hard to point to these things as a major success because they're not really thinking it through. Yes, some of them are mixed, but their accomplishments, great. But how does it translate to having an impact on the everyday lives of Americans? And if they're not feeling that positive impact, if they're not feeling that change, if these accomplishments don't overpower what people are currently experiencing with things like inflation, whether Biden likes it or not, whether it's fair or not, they're gonna blame him for that. And honestly, what Americans are experiencing economically overpowers any of these, what I would argue, small accomplishments by the Democratic Party and under Biden's leadership. One Democratic strategist, by the way, blamed the party's failures on progressives because of course, how could they not? Democratic strategist Rodell Molyneux said Democrats need to stop complaining that they haven't been able to check off everything on their to-do list and start talking about what has been done. He said they also need to start rallying around the president because if his numbers are soft, then that's going to affect the midterms as well. And for once, row in the same direction, he added. And another Democratic strategist showed how little he understands what matters to working class voters. He says this: President Biden has taken many significant actions to curb the pandemic, boost the economy, put Americans back to work at a historic pace while keeping more campaign commitments like confirming the first Black woman to the Supreme Court. So I think a good way of summing this up is the tweet by Walker Bragman, because he lists things that I wish the Democratic Party was more real about. Can't run on beating COVID, 1 million are dead, millions more disabled and counting. Can't run on Build Back Better, that's dead. Can't run on the child care tax credit, it's expired. Can't run on the economy, so many people are struggling. can't run on voting rights. That didn't happen. Other broken promises, the $15 an hour minimum wage, no $2,000 stimulus checks in the COVID relief package. He can't even legalize marijuana. I mean, it's like, I think in sports they call that a layup, right? It's a layup. He missed the layup. Do the layup, use the layup. Legalize marijuana. What is wrong with you guys? Not abolishing the death penalty. The situation is so dire that after 2 years of nothing but uncritical support for Joe Biden, Saturday Night Live, they were finally pushed to their limit and they decided to clown on him. So they jabbed at the president's accomplishment of confirming Ketanji Brown Jackson over the weekend in its cold open. So that's one campaign promise down and only 74 to go, said SNL's James Austin Johnson as Biden in the Oval Office. It's not just the Democratic Party. I feel like there's this culture overall of people like not wanting to take ownership of their flaws, not wanting to take ownership of what they can improve on. Now, it's one thing for that to be prevalent in American culture. I think that is a problem, but it's something entirely different when you have people who have been elected into office to represent the best interests of the people who put them there, and they don't do it, and they refuse to take the criticism. No, this isn't a messaging problem. This is a legislating problem. This is a corruption problem. This is a democratic weakness problem. And they gotta be real about that because they have completely lost the plot because of money in politics, because of the fact that we have lawmakers who are able to trade individual stocks. They end up looking more and more like Republicans. Whenever it comes to a relief bill, the first thing they want to do is discuss how they're going to means test it. And they do that at a time when the gap between the rich and poor is widening even more. Listen, Republicans are terrible. That's why you want a party that's better. So you have an alternative, you have an option. But man, they just keep failing. It's incredibly frustrating. And anyone who's making excuses for them, like these Democratic strategists, you guys suck at your jobs. A Democratic strategist strategizes and finds ways to help the person they're trying to help succeed, get reelected. You're not gonna help people get reelected by giving them like a weird list of excuses that they can message to the American people. It's not gonna work. People are not dumb. They're experiencing what's happening in this economy every single day, and they're furious, and they should be. Democrats need to respond to that, not look for excuses.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.